What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Very excited about the topic today. A couple things I want to say before we get into it. If you see the chat on the side of the screen and you think to yourself, man, it would be really fun to be a part of the live stream while this is actually happening, I stream every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday on Twitch at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you're actually watching this video right around when it comes out, I'll probably be streaming, so come in and join the fun. Also, if you do miss my vlogs where I share my training, I am actually vlogging on my second channel. I've been vlogging my entire triathlon training journey, so if that's something that you like to watch, those vlogs are over there, which will also be linked in the description. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Guys, gals, non-binary pals, very exciting video, very different video, but one that many people have been wanting me to talk about. So today we are going to be talking about like food challenges and just channels that eat a massive amount of food on screen, and that is the the basis of their channel. So what we're going to be doing today is talking actually about my very good friend, and I want to make it very clear, me and this person are very good friends. But he made a video which I actually watched because so we're talking about my friend Erik. So Erik the Electric right here, this is him. I think he's a great guy. But we are going to be talking about a video that he made. It is titled "Food Challenges Are Unhealthy." And so what Erik does, if you're not familiar, every week he pretty much does he eats a massive amount of food. And I watched this video last night when I was chilling because I really enjoy this channel. Full disclosure, Erik, if you watch this video, I love you, but I cannot watch people eat food on camera. Like unless I have to for a video for this channel, I just can't do it. So I don't really watch Erik's videos of him eating a bunch of food. But his third channel, he has 3. This is his third channel, is very insightful, and I think Erik is a very insightful person. And this video, when I watched it, I was like, oh my gosh, man. He just does a great job of explaining things from his perspective, right? Which I think is very interesting. The perspective of someone that does these food challenges every single week. So we're going to watch that video, and I actually, full disclosure as well, I talked to Erik and I was like, hey, I kind of want to talk about this. And he was like, it's all good. So he knows that I'm doing this. If you guys are like, that's kind of messed up that you're talking about your friend's video. But let's go into it. Erik, take it away, my friend.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video on Electric Talks. Hopefully you guys are having a great day whenever you guys are watching this video. So the video you guys are about to watch, I've been debating on making this video for a while now. And I feel like it's going to hopefully answer a lot of questions that a lot of people have towards food challenges and eating challenges that they see on the internet, whether it's from me, whether it's from somebody else. My whole goal with this video is to answer a lot of questions that a lot of people have, questions that I get asked a lot. So that being said, hopefully you all can take something away from this video and learn something as well. Really quick though, before we get into the video, if you guys haven't already, smash that subscribe button and also smash the like button and let me know what you guys want to see next on Electric Talks, because I've got a lot of ideas for future videos, but as far as sit down videos, as far as talking videos, I always like to hear. So like I said, let me know what you guys want to see down below. I want to give you guys my honest opinion as far as whether or not I view food challenges and eating challenges as healthy or not. So I've been asked what feels like billions of times over the past couple of years whether or not I think what I do is healthy or unhealthy. Now, every time I've been asked that question, I used to get pretty bothered by that a lot, mainly because of my thoughts on the words healthy and unhealthy. Now, everybody, let's just go ahead and
So I think like one of the things that Erik he's done a better job over the past few years, in my opinion, as someone that actually does watch like this channel and I follow him on social media, is he's done a lot better of a job kind of sharing basically the way that he is, because another question that he gets a lot of is basically, how are you not fat, right? Because he does these challenges where he's eating 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 calories in a day, like unbelievable amounts of food. And so he has done a lot to, I think, educate people on how he does that, right? Like the amount that Erik moves his body in a day is staggering. It's unbelievable, you guys. Like the amount that he rides his bike, that he goes on walks, that he goes on runs, it's unreal. And like that's how he does it, right? He balances that energy that he's intaking by also taking a lot of energy out and like working out really, really hard for a really, really long period of time. And it's very, very interesting seeing how he does that. Because another thing too, with like people that don't know Erik, like he doesn't just ride a bike. He's very good at it. And he's very good at running. Like it's mind-blowing the actual athlete that Erik is. Like it's not just he moves and rides a bike. I know I'm shouting out my friend, but like but dude, I'll look at his stats after rides and it is unbelievable. It's crazy.
Let's type in healthy into Google. It literally says not sensible or well balanced, abnormal, and harmful. Now looking at what I do and taking a step back in looking at eating challenges, food challenges in and of themselves, they are definitely not well balanced. They're definitely abnormal. But using the word harmful, it really just depends on, I guess, who you're asking. Let's see, it's 2021 and I've been doing this eating challenge videos for my first food challenge was in 2013.
These old clips, man. Oh, they're so good. So good.
So technically I've been doing food challenges for about 8 years now. Almost 8 years. Wow. Guys. I feel old. And over that period of time, I've gotten to really understand what eating challenges does to my health, both from a physical perspective and also a psychological perspective. From a physical perspective, we're going to look at things short term versus long term. In the short term, when you eat exorbitant amounts of food in a very short period of time, you're going to deal with, I'm sure you guys watching this video will know what happens when you do that. You'll get bloated, you'll get cramps, you will not feel very good when you eat a lot of food in a short amount of time.
Man, see, this is what straight up blows my mind how he does this. Because, like, when I even eat a little bit more than normal, right? And I'm like, oh, I probably ate a little bit too much. Dude, I feel so bad. So I don't even know what it is like for him and how he feels after these 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 calorie things. Oh, man.
I hope everybody understands that. The long-term effects of eating large amounts of food obviously is weight gain, high cholesterol, heart issues, all of those things. These things are pretty obvious. And I think that that's what people really get hung up on when it comes to me, because I don't, and a lot of other people too that do food challenges on YouTube, they don't necessarily exhibit what society would want them to think when they think of somebody that eats a lot of food, because that's what surprises people the most when they look at whether it's a competitive eater or anybody that just does food challenges and they think, oh, that person's not obese, they're not 800 pounds, that's weird, and they're eating all of that food. That's strange. That's really strange. And that's something that I've done a lot. I've tried as much as possible to kind of break that stigma among people that watch this stuff for the first time, is that like people out there like myself can eat a lot of food and still maintain I'm using this term very, very loosely here, but healthy physique and live a healthy lifestyle, which brings me in.
So I think like what he's trying to explain here, right, is like, if you eat a lot of calories, and I'm not saying that this is what you should do. And something that Erik, if you follow him on other social medias, like people will ask him, like, I want to start doing food challenges. And like, I've seen him straight up on Instagram be like, don't do it. He's like, I don't recommend anyone do this, right? He does it because it's entertaining and it's like it's his job basically, right? But it's really interesting because, again, if you are going to eat that, like, it's just how the body works. If you're going to eat that amount of food and you're not going to gain a ton of weight, how are you going to make that happen, right? The answer is you are going to have to work out a lot. Like, it's again, I'm not recommending it, but it's that simple, right? If you're going to eat that much and you're not going to gain a lot of weight, it's because you're moving a lot. And if you follow Erik, you know that he moves it's unbelievable.
To my next point, which is the mindset towards eating challenges and food challenges that the internet seems to have, because there are millions upon millions upon millions of people that watch these food challenges, and they all have different opinions on them. A lot, if you just randomly had a person sit down and had them watch one of my videos or somebody else's like a Matt Stoney video or a Furious Pete video or whatever it is, one person could be like, what? Like, that is insane. That's crazy. Or another person could be like, that's super gross. I never want to watch that ever again. There could be so many different.
Yeah, the last one's me, to be honest. I'm sorry. Sorry, Eric. Can't do it.
Reactions to whatever kind of video that you're watching, especially in this niche. And you can't really control what people think, what people say, how people react. Everyone's going to react and think completely differently. Whenever somebody asks me, okay, do you think what you do is healthy? Like I said earlier, I'd get a little irritated whenever somebody asked me that question, but now I'm very open about what I really think. And I do not think that doing eating challenges and doing food challenges is healthy. It really isn't. And that might shock a lot of people, but it really isn't. Eating absurd amounts of food in a short amount of time is not the healthiest thing in the world. But there's also a flip side to that. This kind of plays into my true belief towards this type of thinking, which essentially to me is black and white thinking.
Well, like, I just want to make it clear, like, I agree with him, that point that he made, right? There's not really much else for me to say. Like, I think that eating those, massive amounts of food, it like puts strain on your body that isn't necessary, right? So again, like Erik has said in the past, and like, something that I would say to people is like, I would obviously never recommend doing what he does, and I'm sure he would agree as well, right? Like, just because I don't, like, I'm not sitting here like reaming him and being like, oh, blah blah blah, like, it doesn't mean that I'm sitting here and being like, you should do it. I don't think that you should do it, but I think that there's more of a nuanced conversation that could be had than just being like, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, and then being like, okay, next. That's not a very interesting conversation for me to have.
You are literally labeling something as healthy and unhealthy without looking at all of the variables, without looking at things from a bigger picture, which is extremely, extremely important with not just this, but with every single thing that you guys do in life. Everyone, it's 2021, and social media is a powerful thing, like very, very, very powerful, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. It's a powerful thing in a good way, but it can also be powerful in a very, very bad and dark and scary way as well. Good because it allows us to connect with other people. We get to see things. We get to become entertained by other things, communicate with other people. It's awesome, but in a bad way, it encourages people to think in black and white, because then people start to think one-dimensionally and they have a really skewed outlook on reality, and that's never ever good. In this context, people would look at one of my videos and think that I'm whatever it is to them. If I'm unhealthy to them, then I must live an unhealthy life, and I must have an unhealthy relationship with food, with exercise, with all these other things, and that's just something that they're going to take at face value and move on with. Now, the person that doesn't think one-dimensionally, which I hope a lot of you out there aren't like those other people, those other people aren't going to just take what they saw at face value and make an assumption or think a certain way. They're going to go, okay, well, I'm actually kind of curious about how this person is able to do what they do, and I'm going to go try to research and see if Erik actually is a healthy person outside of his food challenges.
Another, I know that I'm not saying much about the video, but I think he's making a lot of like really good points. But another thing that I know a lot of people talk about is like whenever you talk about like food challenges, people obviously like lump that in with like mukbangs as well. And there's a big group of people on the internet that are like, any food related content, any mukbangs, anything, like they should all be demonetized. Or people will be like, I think that like the overweight women or the obese women or obese men or whatever that are doing mukbangs, they should be demonetized. And my answer to that is always like, there's just that's not going to happen. Like, unless YouTube, like you what you're doing there is asking YouTube to go through channels and be like, okay, this person is allowed to post mukbangs because they're not, you know, at a certain BMI, but then this person isn't because they are. And like, it's just not going to happen. Like, I don't see it happening. So the only way that I could see it happening is like YouTube somehow getting or demonetizing any type of food related content, right? Which I just don't see happening, right? Because then it's like, okay, well, what if I'm just making a cake and I'm like showing people how to make a cake? Is that not allowed anymore? I just think that it's one of those things that it's like, it's way too complicated for like, I don't know. I hope that makes sense.
Does he eat a well-rounded diet outside of his food challenges? Does he do the things that a healthy person would do to make sure that they don't end up obese or whatever it is? That is the type of thinking that should be encouraged, that people should do more of. Sometimes I think about, and this is just me being, you know, fully transparent and real with you guys, like, because I genuinely think, especially because I've been more open about my past with a lot of my history, and I'm not going to say the word because YouTube doesn't like the word, but with my ed, if you guys don't know what that means.
So, okay, so I kind of want to explain this a little bit more because he doesn't explain it super, like, go super into depth here because he's talking to, you know, his subscribers, people that watch his videos. But Erik in the past had a very severe ED, okay? So if you guys don't know what that is, I'm sure you guys can kind of figure it out. It's the one that starts with A. And it was really, really bad. Like, really, really, really bad. He got very, very small, and I would encourage you, if you are watching this video and you're curious, like, he has videos on his channel where he explains all of it and goes very much into detail about it. And so another thing that I know he deals with a lot is people saying he switched basically one addiction or disorder for another one, which is exercise, right? Which I know he'll go into, so I'll let him explain that a little bit more.
Just do a little bit more research into my background, but because I've been very vocal about it and I've explained what I've been through to people, I am one of the very few people that have been very vocal about it, especially within my niche, which I do not regret at all. I'm very happy that I decided to post those videos back in like 2015 and that they've got hundreds of thousands of views. And getting to my point here is I feel like I definitely have seen a lot of different opinions towards people where people go, okay, you know, you've gone from one extreme to the other, or you're promoting bad, unhealthy relationships with food. You live your life in extremes, all these other things. I think about the scrutiny that I get because of that. And I compare it to the like opposite end of the spectrum. Like, okay, what if I actually was 500 pounds or morbidly obese or whatever, and I did these once a week on, you know, a regular basis, and I wonder what kind of comments I would get if I was that person. I mean, the closest.
Well, I mean, I can tell you what. I think we all know what comments you would get. It would be people like, oh, you're going to die soon. You are eating yourself to death. YouTube should demonetize this. This is a form of self-harm, blah, 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 right? We've all seen those comments. We've all seen the videos people make that say all that type of stuff, right?
It's just that I got to that. I mean, I remember, like, you know, a few years ago when I was on my Midwest tour, not my Midwest tour, my Texas tour, and I got to be that chubby guy. I had a double chin and everything. I was doing food challenges pretty much like every other day, and it was weird going.
Dude, that's freaking crazy. He was doing food challenges every other day. Holy smokes, that's insane.
From like the "you're too skinny" comments to like the "wow, like you're now too chubby" comments, and it's like social media now shifts. Like going back to that black and white thinking that I just described, like that was essentially what was happening. And I mean, I've seen all these different comments over the years, and it's really just fascinated me how people have this type of mentality towards everything that they see on social media. But anyways, it's been a thought of mine for a while now. Like, what if I ever was, you know, like if I just decided to like give up my lifestyle and I decided to just start doing nothing every day, and I didn't care about my health, and I didn't, you know, ride my bike, and I didn't run, and I didn't do all these other things, like what people would say then. Would that be okay to the people that think that I have an extreme life and I have a super disordered life and I'm a bad example to people that have eds. I don't think about it very often, but it's always kind of crossed my mind every single time. Like once in a while, I will get one of those really super long comments from people just telling me how bad of an example I am to people that have battled or are still going through eds. And it's hard because I've gotten I probably well over a few thousand emails, comments, and various other messages.
So it's really interesting here. Kind of what he's talking about is just because you are open about something and you have conquered that thing, does that make it that you are somehow becoming an ambassador for that, or you should be looked up to for that, right? So so what he's talking about there is like, he conquered that eating disorder, and does that mean that now just because he did that, everything in his life needs to be tied to that, and everyone is always going to comment about that? Like, is that fair? I personally don't think that it is. Like, if you conquer something and you don't want it to be part of your life and it's not something that you always want to be talking about, I don't think that it's necessarily like you have to be an advocate or an ambassador for this. And that's what it seems like people are commenting, because like, oh, you've talked about conquering this thing and now you're doing this, you're promoting this to people. It's like, well, I'm not doing that. I just talked about this one thing that I did and now I'm doing another thing. People will always try and connect things. I don't know. I don't think that it's super fair to like always be like, you have to be an ambassador for this thing.
People over the years telling me the opposite, where I've helped them get through their eds or whatever it is. And it's hard because it's like that giant block of text. It's almost like it completely negates all the positivity that I've seen. That's also why I feel like it's important for me to make this video. I do really want to touch upon the physical part of food challenges that I get comments about and I get asked about, is whether or not I feel like my physical health is compromised from doing food challenges or whatever it is. By that I mean, like, people are like worried about like my stomach rupturing or something happening when I'm trying to digest food. And a lot of people think that there's like I'm at risk for like blowing my stomach completely up, like it's gonna just like burst. And I think that this is kind of,
well, to be fair, I would be afraid of that. Dude, it's a lot of food, man. Like, that's some scary stuff, bro. I could understand being scared of that. That's all I'm saying.
Been like the thought that's been put out there from a few fatalities that have happened from eating contests over the past few years. And if you really do a little bit more research and deep dive into people that have actually died from food related stuff like this, it's generally happened because people choke on food. And it's actually pretty rare for a person to actually die because they ate too much to the point where their stomach burst. And I get a lot of people that are like, bro, like, are you really afraid? And I'm like, no, because it's very, very, very hard for that to happen. And I'm not saying like go out and eat all you can and see if you can burst your stomach, because it's like, I doubt even people would be able to do that, like trying. It's my whole point here is that it's very, very rare for your stomach to burst. And yeah, just so that everybody understands that. Now, this is a touchy subject with me because I can't really control what people think as far as this goes, but there is also my life outside of food challenges, and something that's very, very important to me and something that I really feel strongly about that genuinely adds to my life is obviously my training. I ride bikes, I run, and I lift weights, not so much anymore, but physical activity is something that I realized changed my life. And there are things in your life that that add to your life, and there are things in your life that take away from your life. And I realized that for the rest of my life, I'm going to be a person that enjoys bicycling. I'm going to be a person that's going to really love running, and I'm gonna be a person that likes to lift weights. I'm a person that likes to be physically active, and I don't have to feel bad about any of that because I know deep down inside that's something that I truly enjoy.
I love that point that he made right there. Because yes, I think like Erik obviously works out more than most people, one, want to, and two, can, right? Because his job genuinely is to make these videos where he's eating a lot of food. And then he has, like, he works really hard in his videos, and I know they take a lot of time, but then he has time to go out and ride a bike for 4 or 5 hours in a day, run for 3 hours in the same day. It's freaking ridiculous. Like, he has that time to be able to do that. So yeah, I think that part of it is obviously a love for exercise and a love for fitness, but also understanding, like, Erik's not stupid, understanding that, like, if he didn't do that, he would just be like, his health would definitely take a hit, right? He would start gaining weight. Like, that stuff obviously would happen because he's not expending all that energy. So I think it's like a twofold kind of thing where it's like he loves it, and I don't disagree with him. I'm sure he does. I can't imagine doing something for that as much as he does without a genuine love for it, and also understanding that, like, this is part of the job kind of thing.
And a lot of people will look at what I do and just say that that's one of my coping mechanisms for being able to do food challenges. That's something that I use to control my weight or whatever it is. And I've realized, folks, that at this stage of the game, with everything, with social media the way it is, I've realized that I can't control a single thing that people think or people say. People will just think and say whatever they want to think.
I even get people that accuse me of being addicted to exercise, right? Especially because I'm training for the triathlon and I've been doing so much, I've been working out a lot more. Like, it's just unavoidable. Like, it's unavoidable, especially like if someone is following you that, and I'm sure a lot of Erik's followers, a lot of my followers that, like, aren't working out at all, right? Because they're trying to find motivation, and, like, they're trying, and then they see someone like me or like Erik working out 2, maybe 3 times in a day, right? That's not super often, but, like, they see that and they're like, oh my God. Especially because for a lot of people, exercise isn't fun and it's not something they enjoy. So they see that and they're like, there's no way someone enjoys doing this. Obviously something's wrong with them. And it's like, just because you don't enjoy doing something doesn't mean that someone else might enjoy it, right? Like, it's very frustrating.
Or say, and that's there's nothing I can do about any of those things. I can only control my thoughts and my actions, and that's it. That's literally it. And I'm gonna say the same thing to you. The only thing you can control are your own thoughts and your own actions, and that's it. To go off of that, you know, I just know that, like, whether or not somebody views my videos that I produce, whether it's on this channel, on my other channel, The Electrics, or on my main channel, Erik the Electric, I can't control whether or not that video is taken in a positive way or a negative way. I can just say my goal is to entertain people. And my goal is to put smiles on people's faces. And I genuinely enjoy my life, and I enjoy the job that I have. I enjoy everything that I do. And if it was taking away from my life, I wouldn't continue to do it at all. But I definitely do want to acknowledge, though, that I'm aware that people use not just my videos, but pretty much food challenge videos in general as an unhealthy coping mechanism for a lot of things and a lot of behaviors that they struggle with. And again, going back to what I said earlier, I can't control that at all. You know, I can't, because on the flip side of that, I'm also aware that people use my videos and the content that I make to better themselves in life, you know.
So, like, what he's talking about there is I know that he gets a lot of criticism for people being like, well, people that have, like, these EDs or people that have these terrible things, like, they watch your videos and it's like, really, it's like, I mean, that might be true, but is that the creators, I don't want to say problem, but is that on their shoulders, right? Because what Erik was saying as well is, like, there are also people on the other side of the spectrum that, like, watch his videos and it really helps them in certain ways, right? Like, so just because as the creator, like, are you responsible for how people take your videos and how they use them? I mean, I think that there's a fine line there, but I don't think that, like, Erik is responsible for all the people that watch them and how they are using them or what they're doing with his videos, right? So I don't think that it's fair to be like, you are responsible for everyone that's watching your videos. If you are, like, actively inciting things and, like, telling people to do things, then yeah, of course you are 100% responsible for that. But if you're just showing yourself do things, I don't think that you're always responsible for every single person that watches your videos.
You know, and to become inspired to do other things as well, you know, that's fantastic. The fact that people use them for like really not so good things, that's not great. But at the same time, going back to my main point, like I said earlier, I just know that deep down inside, I feel like I'm doing the best that I can do. And I feel like my intentions and my morals and everything within me is pure. And I do everything that I do with the best intentions. At the end of the day, folks, it's super important to understand and realize that you really cannot look at things one-dimensionally. And let's use the classic example of somebody's diet. So if we look at this, you know, if you ask a person, hey, do you have a healthy diet? And they say, yes, I eat my brown rice every day, my chicken, my vegetables, and there we go. And like society would just think, oh, they eat really, really healthy. But if that person goes out on the weekend and they decide to have a beer and a slice of pizza, does that completely negate everything that they just said? So like Monday through Saturday or Monday through Friday, their diet was healthy, but because they had that beer and that pizza on Saturday, so does then all of those other days, do all of those other days become like, does that mean that their diet's not healthy anymore? You know, I feel like unpacking that type of thinking is, once again, like I mentioned, I feel like I've probably talked about this 8 billion times. It's extremely, extremely important.
So I think that's a really good kind of example that he uses. You know, talking about, he talked about it earlier, but the black and white thinking, right? Like that's why when people say like, do you eat healthy? I'm just like, how do you answer that question, right? Because there like what one person might think is healthy, another person might think isn't healthy. What one person might think is totally okay to eat, another person might not think is totally okay to eat. And then like you might, like he said, go 6 days in a week eating like very quote unquote clean or healthy or whatever. And then you have one meal where you eat, you know, pizza and beer and have some ice cream or something. Are you now no longer healthy? Like how does it's this black and white thinking where that's why I think it's like we have to take the whole diet into consideration, the whole lifestyle into consideration. All of those things matter. And like what is like the majority of this person doing? You know what I mean? Like what does their story tell you, right? What does the story of their life tell you about their health? I think that's more important than looking at like just 1 week of a diet and being like, okay, this person's healthy or they're not. Yeah.
So if you're going to ask me my honest opinion of whether or not I think doing food challenges is healthy, I'm going to say no. And that's why I generally recommend for people to not do them. But I have a really odd talent, and I have been able to cultivate something that I never thought I'd be able to do. And that's to be able to create my own job out of it and to be able to, you know, enjoy what I do and be happy in the process. And that's all I really need at the end of the day. And I'm having a great time. That's pretty much all I can say. But anyways, everyone,
But yeah, so I think all in all, like I said, I think Erik's a very introspective person, and I just personally felt like this was a really, really good and just interesting video into the mind of someone that does this, right? Erik does these challenges every single week, and he is definitely a very interesting like individual. The way that he lives his life, he's an extreme person, 100% he is. Again, am I saying that I would recommend people do what he does? No, he also wouldn't recommend people do what he does. But it's an interesting conversation to have, and I think Erik honestly is one of the best people to have that conversation with because he really does know what he's talking about. He's someone that I've had many conversations about diet and exercise and health and all of that stuff, and he knows what he's talking about a lot of the times. Like he's very smart with this stuff, and so like I think I do get like upset when I see people just straight up like they'll see a video of his and then they won't know anything else about him and they'll just try and flame him. And I'm like, if you actually knew him and you actually knew what he knows and knew what he did, I think I would hope that you would have a different opinion. But yeah, I just thought this was an interesting video and it's an interesting conversation.